Page 4 of Daily Nation. Kenyattas, Odingas leave a handshake spirit with show of unity. You recall that over the weekend, President Kenyatta and Raila Odinga attended the funeral of Bruce Odhiambo, the former Youth Fund chairperson. And it's quite a conversation that has been going on online when, as page 8 of the Standard reports of President breaking protocol to make surprise Kisumu tour, and he was at the airport expecting to board, and then just after Raila Odinga whispered something to him, they left and went to look at issues to do with the lake, matters to do with the lake transport and the fishing sector. I see here
the port.
They even went ahead to have fish and ugali. So, what is this?
It's fantastic. It's great. I mean, these two leaders really represent a big majority of Kenyans if you look at their votes, or if their votes are anything to go by. And it's just great that people can leave their political differences to sit down as friends, eat together. You can see the port that they went to on Lake Victoria is full with hyacinth. And a few years ago, in the last 7 or so years, the president would not even go to Kisumu. And yet, if that hyacinth is removed, which can be done by the national government, a lot of young people will get jobs, a lot of economic activity will happen, there'll be a lot of trade between all the countries that are on Lake Victoria, Uganda, and all the other countries that are on Lake Victoria with Kenya, and business will be booming in the city of Kisumu. So sometimes our politics make us look over very gainful development. What I'd be worried about if that friendship makes them start thinking alike. Because I would like to assume Raila Odinga and Uhuru Kenyatta were political nemesis because of different ideologies. One believes the country should go this way, the other believes the country should go a different way. And that different kind of thinking is also very welcome within with leaders. Now that they are working together, I hope that their ideological differences have not gone away, because it is within those differences that we are going to grow as a country. If that happens, then you'll find that the government side will be doing whatever they want, whether right or wrong, without the opposition side saying anything about it because they are friends. I hope that doesn't happen. I hope that the former Prime Minister can continue being the leader of opposition and can continue telling his friend, the president, that, hey, boss, I can see government is doing this. I don't think it's right. How can we fix it? So that friendship can be more about the Kenyans, more about moving our country forward, more about putting correct systems and processes in place, and not just about a handshake and eating fish and ugali together. Right,
and Mheshimiwa Shule, there are people who have cautioned and they are worried that good point. They are worried that should this continue, then it risks, there's some gains that we might lose, because in terms of, for instance, fighting corruption, people are just afraid that this cordial relationship might sort of blanket what we've been talking about, because initially, the former Prime Minister was very vocal against certain vices that are happening in government. How do you ensure that this can continue, but also does not affect the agenda of the country in fighting graft, as well as scuttling the plans that the Jubilee Party has?
Okay, you started this conversation by mentioning that the President and Honorable Raila Odinga did meet at the funeral of Bruce Odhiambo. I'd like to pass my deepest condolences to the family of Bruce Odhiambo and his children, somebody I knew personally. But one of the painful things when I watched a lot that was said at his funeral, it was about politics, and people forgot about Bruce Odhiambo. The media did not even, a lot of people in the media and a lot of people in the music industry, a lot of people in the creative arts industry were built by Bruce Odhiambo. That wasn't talked about. Nobody said about, I wanted his children to hear the testimonies at his funeral of the people that he has built, and how selfless and hardworking, and a person with the most beautiful heart who wanted to do good to people was never told. So again, I hope that sometimes people can remember that the family at the funeral is the only time you can hear people talk about your father and what he did for them. But they never got to hear that. They heard about the handshake. The handshake is a good thing, and it's been said. And I think it's good for the country. when you mention about, do you think we will lose something through the handshake? I think a lot depends on the integrity of the opposition. If the opposition does have integrity, then they will not forget that they are actually required to continue checking on government. I think having the handshake has given a semblance of peace within the country, that there isn't too much infighting happening. And even internationally, people now feel like Kenya is at a good place. But again, we have to go back and say, the opposition have to remember, the reason why we have a leader of majority and leader of minority in parliament and in the Senate is because we know that the opposition, and recognize that the opposition has a role to play. So it will have to be up to the opposition not to forget what they are supposed to do. It's not for the government to make sure that they do. They will have to do it themselves. Okay. So I think we'll see, this is our opportunity to see if the opposition knows what their role is in the country.
And talking about the opposition, because the structure currently has the executive and the legislature and, of course, the judiciary. So you have issues that you want resolved. Talking about justice, you take them to the court. For parliament, it's supposed to check on whatever the government is coming up with. This aspect of the opposition has been sort of an informal opposition, what Raila Odinga has been doing since 2013. So do you think where we are with the handshake, we are at a point where the legislature can check on the government regardless of the handshake and their political affiliation?
Well, first of all, let me just say what Mheshimiwa said. And within that week, I know we had the burials of Professor also, where people talk to just interesting issues on that social media.
Yeah.
And it's time we have to plead with social media that when families are bereaving, it's fair to just respect. Because even if you say all that you're saying, you're not helping anyone. And I always wonder, those on social media, do you really have families? Do you have a mother, a father, a sister? And how do you, or your own children, how do you feel when you write a story of one who has now departed? You know, because we judge so much and yet we are forgetting we do the same things. It's only that we do it in a different way. So my plea to Kenyans 2019, let's stop judging each other, especially when they have passed on. They are now to,
they can defend
going to
themselves.
their Mecca. And God knows better than we do. And let's just stop judging them that harshly and leaving the family so much torn when they are really bereaving. Because I looked at what was written on professors and I was like, really? He has children who are in campus, who are abroad. Really, you can't be doing this. Then I looked at Bruce again and I was looking at the replies and I'm like, where are we in our country? Where are we? By the way, the same way that Al-Shabaab psychologically torments you, it's the same way a blogger in Kenya is tormenting a family. And I'm pleading to them to really appreciate and respect personal issues of families.
Right.
Now let's come to this. You know, the most interesting thing in Kenya is that the moment we felt this handshake, we felt like the country has come back as one.
Yep.
So I don't want to lie that there's an opposition. Let me not lie that. No, I don't want to lie here. I feel the opposition will be within a person when you realize it, regardless whether you're in Jubilee or you are in NASA, when you feel this is wrong, I am hoping you will come out and say this is wrong. But in terms of the handshake for the country feels, and I think after the Grand Coalition government, Kenyans learned a lot from that lesson, yeah? It has never come out of them, that they always feel when we are one, we have this peace. For me, I don't know whether it's negative or positive. I always feel sometimes it's a negative peace because when it is not there, then we are not together, you get.
Right.
So we want to make it a positive peace as we move on, that we can criticize our government when we are doing wrong, and we can say, look, this has helped us move. And most of the time, you find that you will move better when everyone is together. That's the most interesting thing with Kenya. So what we need to ask ourselves is our style of leadership is a hybrid leadership. And we must start appreciating that. And going forward, if we go to a referendum, we must understand Kenya appreciates when you're in a hybrid. When everyone is somewhere, things will move. Development will move. The only biggest challenge we are going to face now is that, fine, at the top you can move, in the counties you might not move. Because you have also your own challenges within the counties.
But you see...
In 30 seconds, yes.
you see, Speaker, why I disagree with that is, if you look at any progressive country in the world, there is always a government and there is always an opposition. There's always two political parties that are competing against each other. And they're competing against each other on ideology. And that is where we miss the point here in Kenya. You have one political party that says, I am going to focus on the economy. Then you have another political party who says, I'm not going to focus on the economy, which is business. I'm going to focus on social service, where government will collect all these taxes and give everybody services for free. Now, you as a lawmaker, you choose. What do you believe in as a person? Do you believe in the economy, capitalistic stuff, or do you believe in the socialist stuff? Yeah, then you take your position then. And that is your DNA, that's your personality.
Right.
It doesn't change. Yeah. Now, the citizens who are also voting also pick. Yeah. Am I going to support this one who wants us to work hard for our money, or this one who wants to collect all our taxes and give us education and health and everything for free? Then that is who you're going to support. And you'll support them the way you support your Man U or your Chelsea. You don't change. Or your Liverpool. You just don't change. And that's where we are going wrong. Now, if there's no opposition, if everybody is believing in the same thing, then you can't move forward as a nation. Well, it's just not possible.
I just want to tell my deputy governor that you're forgetting your same supporters came to Uhuru Park. So, Nina President. The moment they saw the handshake, they are the ones who say that is the best thing ever happened. That is your voter. So all I'm saying is that wrong. Kenyans, in their mind, and you must appreciate, we are unique. That's why we have M-Pesa and no any other country has. They are learning from us. Maybe we are so unique that if you go to a neighboring country, they ask you, you mean the handshake? Just handshake. Is made you guys go down. They can't believe. But in Kenya, a hand, shaking hands, made the country torn down, and we moved on, and we are moving on now. We are able to go.
So probably it was a good political move. It worked.
And that's why Kenya is very unique. And in God's eyes, Kenya is unique anyway. That's why God gives us very unique ways of doing things.
All right. Let me ask the Member of Parliament here. Do you think it's possible to check on the government as Parliament currently constituted?
I think a lot will depend on the personalities of the members of the opposition within the Parliament, because it's only them and it's within their right to stand up and object or make statements in relation to things that the government is doing that they don't agree with.
But as the majority party, you still have a responsibility, because you're technically not in government.
Yes, yes.
You're serving your role as a legislature. Do you think it's possible for you as a majority party?
It's possible. I'm on record. I've sometimes taken a position that I don't I don't agree with the government all the time. At the end of the day, I ask myself, the people of Uasin Gishu elected me. What is good for them? And so sometimes I've taken positions like that.
And is it always for the majority party, the whole lot of you, to go through that route, or they have to stick to the voice from the top?
I think there's only been 2 incidences I know that when I've been in Parliament, that the party has come together and tried to say, what position do we take as a party? And that is normal in any country. I think in any country that can happen. And sometimes the party then persuades its members that this is ultimately the decision of the party. But in those cases, on those 2 cases I've cited, not everybody who is in the Jubilee Party did agree with the government. So I think people can still take their individual positions, just the way the opposition would do that. It's just the way that people who are members of the majority party can do.